with no further ado, and I'm hoping he's still here and we haven't lost him, let me introduce you to our welcome speaker, basically who is a man who is much respected for his pragmatic and his passionate approach to how he views the circumstances of the people of Greater Manchester, how he fights for those issues that are very common in the Manchester area. And he's determinedly challenged government, even at his own cost sometimes, when he feels there's a right to be, a wrong to be righted, sorry, wrong way around. And who Andy has relentlessly supported our campaign, and for that he has my absolute respect and admiration. So I would like to welcome Lord Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham. Thank you, Andy. Hope you hear me, and over to you.
I can do, and just promoted me there in the Lord, so thank you very much. And it's great to see you all, and lots of thumbs up there. Thank you, everybody. So it's a proud duty to welcome you to this amazing event. Having spent all year trying to get my mum on Zoom to do a family quiz and failing, I'm in awe, Dee, that you've taken this on. But you might take offence to that, man. She's a 30s lady, not a 50s lady. So I think you're all obviously much more digitally savvy than my mum's generation. And I was just thinking, to be talking to you all. I bet some of you are thinking about Media City, aren't you? In the sunshine. Well, it feels like a world away, doesn't it, now, when you think back to that. It was an amazing event too. And actually, what I remember about that day, because I think I did shout out to the crowd and, I was calling all the names of the places around the country. You had real unity there, didn't you? People from all parts of the country, all walks of life. And obviously today we want to build on that unity. I can't believe you've invited me back, Dee. I thought you'd be sick of me back by now, but you'll always have my support. You are right. Yours is a just cause, and I will always support you. And I think I can go further in saying Greater Manchester will always support you. And in typical fashion, we do try and stick to the motto of deeds, not words. The Greater Manchester Combined Authority is one of the few public bodies in the country that has formally recognised the pensions injustice against 50s women with the offer of a concessionary travel pass. Now, it hasn't gone as far as I would like it to go, but I do hope you will see that it's a sign of our intent. And as I work towards a mayoral manifesto for next year, I will be coming back to this issue to see if we can go further. So, I just want to say to you, though, that we know that we've got a commitment to you too, and we will do more than just give you words. I just want to say something about this year and just ask the question: what has actually happened or is happening to this country? Because one of the things we used to have is a reputation for fairness. I mean, that, to me, was what Britain was all, or should be all, about. And I'm worried that we're losing that reputation. I'll just mention some of the things that I've had to fight on this year. There was the whole question of Greater Manchester going into Tier 3 and people being kind of closed down, if you like, their workplaces closed, and only being offered 67% of their wages. Now, bear in mind, this was pubs, bookmakers, bingo halls. Many of the people who work in those jobs are women, and to say that they could only have 2/3 of their wages, well, if you're on low wages in one of those places, how on earth can you survive on 67%? So we did take a stand, but it should never have even been put forward. And actually, we saw Sage minutes come out yesterday that said they told the government it should never, that the support should have been there. But then we've also had the issue of 3 million people have been excluded from public support. And I've mentioned your campaign a few times to them because they've struggled a little bit to get everybody together. But this is another thing, isn't it? People who have paid in, taxpayers, who are now left with nothing in this year of all years because they're self-employed or because they're PAYE or whatever it might be. It can't be right. And that's when we get to your issue, isn't it? You pay in, you get out, don't you? That's the Britain we've all grown up with, and that's the Britain we still want, that fairness that's sort of baked in to the way things are done. And I'm worried it's being lost. And if we lose that, we lose so much of what this country is about. It's interesting in that, you know, the excluded campaign actually does have a number of groups, and I've been working to try and pull them together. And the main thing I wanted to say today, Dee, which I think might be helpful to you all, is nobody should feel bad or beat yourselves up about the fact that there've been differences of opinion within this broad campaign, because it always happens in every single campaign that I've been involved with. This happens where you get a kind of different perspectives starting to emerge amongst the different groups. It happened with the contaminated blood campaign, but the particular one I want to mention is Hillsborough, because, you know, it happened there as well. We had the Hillsborough Family Support Group representing the families, and then the Hillsborough Justice Campaign, in effect representing the survivors and the supporters. And I always will remember, it was one of the most humbling things I've ever been, moments I've been in. I took the Hillsborough families over to Derry to speak to the families who'd campaigned around Bloody Sunday. And they were saying to us that it was on the 20th anniversary of Bloody Sunday that finally there was a sort of reconciliation between the two factions there. There was an SDLP faction and a Sinn Féin faction. And finally they said, you know what? We're getting nowhere here. We need to work together. And the resonance of that in the meeting we were having with the Hillsborough families was, it was the same with Hillsborough. There was 20 years of not really getting anywhere. And then finally on that 20th anniversary, when I went to Anfield and people called for justice, that then brought everybody together, and then things changed. Now, what I would say to everybody is, let's not make, it can't take 20 years, can it? You know, what Dee said is right. Unity is strength. And what we have to do is, people will always have different perspectives in a campaign like this, but you have to find that common core that you all believe in and that you're all signed up to, and you stick with that, and that binds you, and never lose that. You know, always come back to that whenever you're kind of veering off into arguments. Stick to that common core, that campaign for what is right for women up and down the country who built up this country in that post-war period, who looked after people, who brought us all up, who worked, who, well, did everything basically, and then are left in the lurch at this point in your lives. It's wrong, and everybody knows it's wrong, and the country knows it's wrong. But the more that you're together, the more the country will get behind you, and that's, I think, the thing that you need to take from this. You know, I mentioned deeds, not words. So let me. The most famous women's campaign, apart from yours, of course, is those suffragettes all those years ago. And don't forget, they suffered from their own differences within. But change comes when you find that unity. My favourite song, whenever I hear it, and it always kind of reminds me a little bit of your campaign. Nana was a suffragette. I don't know if you've all heard that song. It's a wonderful song. Votes for women is just the beginning, was the call, and I think you just need to stick with that. Take inspiration from it. You know, all campaigns go through a period of kind of this, you know, loss of focus, but then finally, when they find their voice together in harmony, singing together, you know, that's when you make the progress, and you will make it, because, as I said at the beginning, you've got right on your side, and people are with you. People want a country where you pay in and you get support. People don't want a country where people, like those who've been excluded this year, are left with nothing. So you will always have me with you. You know that, Dee. I hope today really builds that common cause across the groups. I'd like to congratulate you all, actually, for bringing this amazing event together, because it's no mean feat to do what you're doing today. You know, you are going through, or you have gone through, what every single campaign I've ever known has gone through. But there is always that moment of, can you come from that back to a unified position, because then you make progress. You've got mayoral elections coming next year. Just think about this. May 21, myself, Liverpool, Birmingham, London, all of them are out for election. Leeds, West Yorkshire, just moved ahead with there's been a selection of a woman candidate for mayor yesterday in Leeds for all of the people from West Yorkshire. Potentially the first woman metro mayor in the country, which would be a great thing to see. Use those campaigns next year. Build towards that. get commitments from the candidates about what they're going to do, both to help you, but then take this fight to the government. Let's get focused now. Let's get serious. Let's get united. Unity is strength. I'm with you all the way. Let's make this happen for those 50s women who've suffered such an injustice. Dee, I will hand back to you. I think you're on
Dee,
mute.
you need to unmute. Hello, Dee, if you can hear me, you're still on mute. You need to unmute yourself. Andy, if you didn't hear all that, there was lots and lots of people clapping on screen, so I think they're all saying thank you. If you didn't hear it, I can see it. There's lots of.
No worries at all, Russ. I did. So thank you, everybody. I'm just so thrilled to see this event happening today, and I did make that point, didn't I, about digital skills at the start of the I think slightly older generation. No offence, Dee, but.
Okay, Dee.
Oh,
I think,
there you go.
Back with us, Dee.
A round of applause for Dee managing to remove.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on, Dee. Go ahead.
Oh, thank goodness. I don't know what's happening because I never touched a thing there and it just wouldn't respond the button. So you might have to bring me in at your end, Russ, if it keeps doing it. Yeah. So thank you, Andy. Sorry about that. I was saying thank you, and nothing was occurring. So
No problem at all, Dee.
So I'd like to move on. Obviously, we are working on a new package, but what I wanted to do, one of the things that's come up with some of our groups is obviously looking at the ways we can pressure the government now. So I'm going to ask Russ if he can possibly bring up from the USB stick Martin Day's video that was sent to us.
Just give me a second.
Shall I keep talking? Yeah.
Yes, please.
I think it's very, very pertinent, this video, into what we are actually looking at pursuing at them, and we are actually, I think if you remember, I started weeks ago with that letter to Boris, which got 220,000 views or something like that, stating that, you know, we are going to get a great surge in unemployment, and why on earth are they not releasing the 1950s women early to their pensions and creating, you know, the jobs that we actually need for the younger generation right now, that is going to be the main problem coming out of this COVID. So